Welcome to the top 100 board games from Japan, Part 8. I'm standing right in front of Tokyo Big Sight. This is where the Tokyo game market happens twice a year, once in spring and again in fall. Because I thought, what better way to end this 10-part series than being right here in Japan. For each of the remaining games on this list, I'm going to be shooting it at a different place here in Japan, and it's all going to be out of sequence, so you might see my facial hair grow, get shrink, and my clothes change, but don't worry, it's all here, all in Japan, all for you. And with that, let's get this show on the road. When I made this list of the top 100 games from Japan, I admit that Emperor's Choice was a little low, and then every time I played the game, it went higher and higher and higher and higher. And that's because Emperor's Choice is one of the best games ever to come out of Japan, and one of the best games from one of the best designers to ever come out of Japan, and that's Hisashi Hayashi. Emperor's Choice is one of the unique games that deserves its own special video content that should last maybe 30 to an hour, and I definitely want to dive deep into that game because there's a lot of rich history there, not just for the story or the mechanics of the game, but for the history and the impact for the board game industry. TMG, Tasty Minstrel Games, is a name that has come up repeatedly on this list, and that's because they had a very long, outstanding working relationship with Hisashi Hayashi, bringing many of his games over to the West. The most successful one of which has been Yokohama, which people are constantly talking about and have been talking about even more so recently due to the new Yokohama release scheduled for next year. TMG caught lightning in a bottle with Yokohama, but they wanted to do it again, and their choice was Emperor's Choice. The deluxified edition of Emperor's Choice was promised to be one of the biggest endeavors yet, and you can go to the old Kickstarter page and look at some of the old reviews about some of the ideas that they had about Emperor's Choice. Sadly, TMG no longer exists today, and Emperor's Choice was not fulfilled. It's the idea of a game that could have been, but the game still exists in its original Japanese form, waiting for another publisher to license it and bring it to the West. Emperor's Choice is one of my favorite auction games because it has one of the most unique mechanics I've seen in auctioning, and I definitely want to see that explored more and in the future of other games. When you bid with cards from your hand or with little cubes, which are your soldiers, and the soldiers are finite in the game, meaning like there are only a finite number of soldiers that exist in the land. And when you bid and when you cash out, you could lose one of your cards, and they're very important and it's very special because you use them for bidding, and they also have extra hidden powers. All the cards, except for your starting cards, are very unique, offering different things that can score you points throughout the game. But depending on how you bid and depending on when you pass, you could lose one of your highest pieces. You could lose many of the soldiers that you collected, or if you pass out early, maybe you lose nothing at all. And passing out early also means that you get first dibs on some of the weaker but powerful things in the game that allow you to advance, change other resources, but you definitely want to win those auctions because you're going to have your first pick of the tiles that are available, and these tiles allow you different things, different scoring mechanisms, allow you to build walls, protecting against the horde that's going to come and attack. There are so many routes to victory in this game that each time you play, you're tactically making decision after decision of seeing what all of your other opponents are doing and how to stop them in their tracks and advance your position as well. But Emperor's Choice gets its name from the long row of decrees. Now that is the core of the game, and all of these decrees are double-sided, and these all affect the end game scoring. So you're always going to be paying attention to these decrees or orders and constantly voting for which one gets passed and which one doesn't. And you have a chance to flip them over, denying your opponent access to their points or allowing access to your points. And that creates an excellent amount of tension among the players, seeing who is going for who. All the information is pretty much open except for the hand of cards. But seeing all that information and using it to your advantage on those decrees is what makes Emperor's Choice so exhilarating and so tight. The auctioning system is one of the best I've seen in the industry, and I can't wait for another publisher to license that game, give it a deluxified edition that it has always deserved, bring it finally to the West and celebrate it for the true glory that Emperor's Choice is. Emperor's Choice is one of my choices for one of the best games from Japan. Tokyo Highway is board gaming jazz. This was the first game that really propelled it on the map and even got picked up by Asmodee and turned into a 2 to 4 player game. The first time that I saw Tokyo Highway, I was shocked, just like everybody else. I'm thinking to myself, how is that a game? But somehow it's made it happen, and they took off ever since. Players are slowly dropping more and more pieces of popsicle sticks, creating more highways, layering over other highways, and slowly putting cars down onto the highways themselves, scoring points. Now I understand some players don't like chopsticks, some players have trouble or have big sausage fingers like me, and eventually someone's gonna knock the highway and it's all gonna come tumbling down like Jenga. Which is why I think the game works best in its original form as a 2-player game. But since the original release, there have been many little expansions offering more cars, more buildings to build your highways around. And every time you finish a game of Tokyo Highway, the Instagrammability of the board is just unlike anything else. Tokyo Highway isn't just an excellent game, it's parts of Japanese board gaming history, proving to the rest of the world what a board game can be and how we should think about and approach game design more abstractly and be amazed by what we find. That puts Tokyo Highway in an easy position as one of the greatest games of all time out of Japan. Railway Boom is yet another truly unique train game from designer Hasashi Hayashi. Now, Kazu brand, his publisher, has a lot of train games on this list. But one of the best ones and one of the most recent ones is Railway Boom. Railway Boom is the first big box game from Kazu brand in many, many years. And it was well worth the wait. I really like Hasashi Hayashi because his train games feel very, very different from the, I guess, quote unquote, traditional winsome style cube rail games from the West. Railway Boom has 2 to 5 players entering in multiple auctions throughout the game, bidding from where they're going to start building their trains, access to different cities, different cars and technologies, and even endgame scoring. Now, I do find that the art has been divisive amongst my playgroups, but I really love the watercolors used in this particular game. I think it adds a nice, unique feel and a very human touch to the quality of this game. Now, at the time of this recording, Railway Boom was picked up by ArcLight, the publisher that's in charge of Tokyo Game Market. They announced this year at Tokyo Game Market that they will be at Essen next year. So I can only presume that Railway Boom will be at Essen next year in 2024 with new designs. Simone Luciani developing the game and tailoring it, I presume, to a more Western audience. But is Railway Boom the best train game designed by Hasashi Hayashi? You have to stay tuned to find out. Psychic Pizza Deliverers Go to the Ghost Town is as charming as its name is ridiculous. Psychic Pizza is essentially just boiled down D&D. You have psychic pizza deliverers, they deliver the pizza to the ghost town, suddenly they get lost and they lose their pizza and they wind up somewhere in the ghost town. You have to walk your way through the ghost town, find your pizza, fight some ghosts along the way, and deliver your pizza to the house that ordered the pizza. If you do that, you win. One person is the GM, the ghost town mayor, and they're the only one who sees the map. And they even get to design the dungeon, the map for the players to traverse through. Now, when you're the pizza deliverer, you have no idea what the map looks like. You decide every turn if you're moving north, south, east, west, and the mayor tells you what's north, south, east, and west of you. Now, the original game had extra tokens, like maybe a pig, a cat, or like a monkey on a motorcycle or a truck, that you could add a little bit more flavor and narrative to the story. Like maybe you run across a pig, maybe you cross a family of pigs, maybe the pig rides you to another part of the town, maybe you find a sewer that leads you to another zone. The re-release from Allplay, as Psychic Pizza Deliverers Go to the Ghost Town, doesn't have those elements. Instead, it just upgrades the map tokens that only benefit the mayor from what they see. But they are very Instagrammable, and it makes a great reveal moment even better. By reveal moment, I mean at the end of the game, when you reveal the map to all the pizza deliverers, and they're like, that's where I was. And it's this great reveal there. One of the other layers of the game is that the pizza deliverers aren't allowed to talk to each other. But you get to listen and listen to the map that they're slowly developing throughout the game, and you comparing your map with theirs, trying to create an overall picture. That's a little dangerous though, because there are warp zones that lead you to different parts of the city, and the map you made could suddenly be rendered useless. They're called psychic pizza deliverers because you have these weird psychic powers that allow you to jump or do weird map manipulations or eliminate ghosts. But if you're looking for a great puzzle and a great, I don't know, like map and right game, I think Psychic Pizza Deliverers is an excellent game and easily one of the best games to ever come from Japan. Tribe! I've said before, and I'll say it again, Itten makes interactive art and gamifies it. No other publisher pushes the limits of what we think of as a game than Itten. And no other game in Itten really demonstrates the idea of interactive art better than Tribe, the second edition. In Tribe, players have different tribal leaders standing in a circle and taking turns placing these weirdly shaped patterns and pieces on top of their leaders and balancing them the best way they can. But the real trick of the game is being able to recognize patterns and groups among all the tribes. Can you recognize these patterns and score points without knocking things over? Tribe does an excellent job of adding dexterity and pattern recognition to a very smooth and streamlined gameplay experience. If you ever find yourself at an Itten booth and you see Tribe, the second edition there, do yourself a favor and grab a copy. Tribe is very unassuming. You have these grayish figures standing in a circle, but the loudness, the brightness of all the colorful pieces really elevate this game to the next level and make it really stand out. 2023 has demonstrated that in the board gaming industry, you really need table presence and Instagram ability to really sell your games. And Itten has been doing this for years. I can't think of a better example of that than Tribe. Tulip Bubble is one that I debated putting on this list, not because it's a bad game, but because it's mostly known from Mo Ideas, which is a Taiwanese publisher. So is it a Japanese game? Is it a Taiwanese game? Well, it was initially a Japanese game, got licensed by Mo Ideas, and then the rest of the world discovered it. So I'm going to throw it into this category as from Japan. Tulip Bubble is one of those few games on this entire series that has a historical background to it. And having that historical background of Tulip Bubble being one of the first economic bubbles that ever existed in human history, I think it's perfect for gamification, and Tulip Bubble does an excellent job exploring the ridiculousness of that theme. Players are these tulip entrepreneurs of buying and selling tulip bulbs to rich people who want them, and I really, really love the cleanness of this design. There are multiple layers out of tulips that are coming out, tulips that are for sale, and tulips that will soon be leaving. And each time you play the game, you can see the tulips going up and down rapidly from round to round. And you have this great push your luck element of gathering tulips and pushing it, waiting and waiting for that market to jump up and peak and then cash out as soon as you can. And I love how the game has different ways to end, but having that deck get thinner and thinner and thinner and knowing that that bubble is going to burst at any moment makes that end play really, really tense. Tulip Bubble is one of those few auction games where it's not loud, it's not noisy, it's just quiet and pensive and tense, and until right at the very end, and the bubble bursts and the whole table erupts with anger, with cries, and joy. I love it. Now, there are two versions of Tulip Bubble out there. There's the original box, which is a little bit taller, and the new edition, which is a little bit thinner. I will say that the new edition is the way to go. One, because the market board is a lot more efficient, and I don't think it needed a double board where the first edition did. Also, you don't need the player's shield. Now, that can be controversial. Your mileage may vary on that. But I feel that with auction games such as this, you don't really need a player's shield. If you feel that you need to hide your money, well, then you can use the cards and kind of tuck your money underneath. One problem that I have with Tulip Bubble is that the hand-drawn art is so beautiful. It's really hard to capture on camera and in photos. You really need to hold the cards in your hand and see that hand-drawn art, because it's definitely something to behold and really enjoy. Making the entire list of 100 games was a little bit difficult, but Tulip Bubble was an easy decision to put onto this list because it definitely deserves to be here. That's one of the best games to ever come out of Japan. How's that? Few games on this list do as much as Unreliable Wizard with so little. Unreliable Wizard outperforms most games on this entire list of 100 games by doing so much with so little. It is only a deck of 32 cards, but it crams a JRPG experience in 10 to 15 minutes. Now that first playthrough, it might take a little while for you to figure out the mechanics, but once you get going, you can take it out of the box, set it up, play a game, and put it back in the box in about 15 minutes. I love the whole idea of Unreliable Wizard, of that you're doing this nice little hand building, and maybe you get the spell, maybe you don't, and that's the whole idea about Unreliable Wizard. And there are different ways that you can game that little hand that you create, and I really like those little decisions. It's very, very clever with what it does with just how little. And what blows my mind even more is that there's now an expansion, and now you have crystals that you can get to. You can move around left, right, up and forth. The base game felt like you're just running a gauntlet, but the new expansion feels like this whole world that you can explore with gear and robes and magic wands and fighting epic battles of monsters. I love how you can find the rest of your party, and your party can grow in strength, but each party member has two unique abilities that can change how you play the game. And to be completely humbled, I was really floored how my little video inspired a Spanish publisher to license the game and release an international release of Unreliable Wizard. Hundreds of gamers around the world all shout in unison that they love this 8-bit style of graphics and the simple card play. Unreliable Wizard proves once again that all you need are nice, simple, clean mechanics with a nice twist, and that's more than enough to put you on the top 100 games of all time from Japan. Can you read me? Can you hear me? La la la, la la la. Ostia from Uchiba is the biggest box game from Japan. At least the one out of all the ones that I've seen or played. Did it have to be that big? I don't think so. I think you could have put it in a smaller box. But I love the size of the box because it's a big idea in a big box. Uchiba had a chance to go big, and I'm glad that they did it. Ostia is one of the few games out there that uses a mancala mechanic with this rondel wheel. And I think they did a good job of having this nice semi-complex wheel with a very simple board action. You're moving your boats around this wheel so you can gather resources and move your other boats on the big map to those ends. There's a nice race on multiple paths to those final ends, and you can get those multiple contracts there. And with multiple tiles and different locations that are mixed up for each play, there is a lot of replayability here. I love the attention to detail that Uchiba brings to all their games. Each individual structured buildings didn't have to be that way. They could have just been cubes, but I'm so thankful that they went that extra inch, not mile, but inch, and having each of the buildings look differently. If you're into solo games, the solo play for Ostia is actually really, really solid. It comes with its own board and different player goals for you to try and beat each time. The one downside to Ostia is that it is a little too big, and therefore the size of your table may vary, and you might have trouble fitting everything on your table. I'm sure there's a way to squeeze everything in the expansions into the base box, because it's certainly big enough, but I haven't found a way yet. But be that as may, Ostia eats up a lot of shelf space, and I'm glad it does because it's an excellent addition to my collection, and it could be for yours. Now, there is a learning curve to this game. You have to figure out what the best combinations are, and planting your boats on the mancala is a little tricky, but a lot of fun. But once you're past that curve, triggering combo after combo on combo is so exhilarating and so much fun. It's why we game, and that's why I game. However, I will say that Ostia is that type of game to where an experienced player will smoke any new player to the game. So I encourage older and more experienced players do a little bit more hand-holding and help your new players out and let them explore Ostia and understand why it deserves to be on the top 100 board games of all time from Japan. Demon Worker is one of the first Japanese games that I ever played, and it's also one of the best. Japanese games often get criticized because they don't really have a good, strong theme and mechanic integration, but Demon Worker is here to prove all of you wrong. You are one of the lords of the underworld, and you're hiring slaves to build different structures and create plans so that way you can conquer the world of the living. There are many things that I love about this game. I love that the weakest workers, the workers that you start with, the bottom of the rung, are the humans. Boring, plain, no special abilities, but you eventually get to draft more cards, more demons that are unique and have unique special powers. And that every time you play this game, you're able to unlock different combos that allow for a very unique gamer experience. Now, don't be fooled by this cute underworld theme. The resources in this game are quite tight, even at 4 and 3. And there is an official 2-player variant available on BGG that works very, very well. Demon Worker is one of these golden games that will never leave my shelf because of the unique theme and how it just integrates so well with the mechanics. I love drafting the demons at the beginning of the game and trying to figure out the best combination of cards that will allow me to score myself to victory. Now, if you're looking for a way to make the resources a little bit less tight, what you can do is set up for a 4-player board and a 3-player game. Allows a lot more flexibility and kind of holds the player's hand a little bit more when they play the game. But the artwork in this game is just so adorable and so cute. I don't know how you can do anything else but absolutely love it. Demon Worker is one of the best games to ever come out of Japan. Definitely give it a try. Metro X is diabolical. Easily one of my favorite flip and writes of all time. Sasha actually took a very simple mechanic and deep dive into it at time and time and time again. Now, if you played Metro X, you probably played the Western version, which has dry erase boards. And there is a slight difference between those and the original paper form here in Japan. I believe the deck itself is a different number of cards, so there is a little bit more flexibility in the Japanese version, and the Western version is a little tighter. What the Japanese version loses in tightness in gameplay, it gains in playability, because not only does the original base game come with 2 maps, but there are multiple expansions covering multiple cities all across Japan, each map having a unique theme or mechanic that makes it just a little different. So Metro X wins this place, not just for the game itself, but for all the expansions that make this such a great joy to explore. And one of the best things about Metro X is that the community at large has created multiple maps spanning all across the globe, and each version that gets released in a different country does a different city and a different style and a different way, and I love exploring each of those maps when I get a chance to explore them. And while I know that dry erase boards are safer for the environment, the original paper and pencil just has this magic quality to it that I really, really love. The simplicity of that design of flipping a card and writing a number down and trying to fill up a station and complete the route and not get blocked off by other routes is just so simple, yet so painful at the same time. But is Metro X the best flip and write ever out of Japan? Well, you gotta stick around to find out. I'm so excited right now. Just 20 more games to go on the top 100 board games from Japan list. Stick around, like and subscribe, and don't miss out on the next video. Once again, my name's Shay. I play board games from Asia and share what I find with all of you. See you there.